close the doors of your mind from all carnal will, all carnal thought, all emotions, all desires, all fears, all laziness, all doubt. Anything within the center of your mind, within your 12 cranial nerves, within your 12 melanin centers, within your hands and your feet that control the rest of your body, within your capillaries, your dendrites, your axons, within your left and your right brain, within your left and your right ventricle of your heart that pumps deoxygenated and oxygenated blood throughout your body. And bring your mind to balance within and cancel out and destroy within your thoughts all deceitfulness of riches, all hatred, all jealousy, envy, complaining, dissension, robberies, adultery, fornication, lying, all things within yourself that can cause corruption of your seed. For today is the day of freedom. Today is the day of warning. Today is the day that Yahuwah has given to us as another Shabbat. How you say the seventh day, the seventh letter of the alphabet, sword, knife, word, law, rest, perfection. Know that perfection comes through obedience. They say perfection comes through walking in the light, in the or, the Torah, continually. For today we acknowledge the one who made all of the the highest mountains of the earth, where his house will be sitting on top, and all nations shall flow. The one who gives life and understanding to all creatures and beings of the earth, and the highest Shamayim above the Shabai Shamayim, the seventh heaven, even to the 13th Shamayim, and governs all gods and all rulers, and who eats from the table of the righteous. Yahuwah Elohim. So as we move forward in his fruits, his love, his kindness, his ahab, his patience, his meekness, his temperance, his munah, his self-control, and his understanding, and his wisdom, and his knowledge. For it is not our will, but his will in our life. All right, so this is the book of 1 Timothy chapter 4. 1 Timothy chapter 4. 1 Timothy chapter 4 and verse 1 Timothy chapter 4 verse 11. 1 Timothy chapter 4 and verse 11. Actually, let's go over to verse 9. It says, "The saying is trustworthy and deserving of full acceptance. For to this end we toil and strive, because we have our hope set on the living Elohim." Right, so Yahuwah is not the Elohim of the dead, he's the Elohim of the living. So we strive to enter. See, he that runneth the race must run all. It says, "Who is the Savior of all?" He is the Yahshua of all salvation. And it says, "especially to those who believe." He said, he the Yahshua of those who don't believe and those who believe. He said, especially for those who believe. Right? "Command and teach these things. Let no one despise you for your youth." So if you're a young man, old man, 15, 16, 17, 30, 35, 40, 50, 60, 120. He said, "Oh, that's old." No, that's 930 years Adam lived, so that's not even not even a tenth of your life. And it says, "Command and teach these things. Let no one despise you for your youth, but set the believers an example in speech," that's the words you say, "in conduct," so you can't use nothing that's evil, we'll say profanity, cursing, that's also cursing people's lives, right? Because you also, just like Qahalath said, he said, don't be, he said, mindful of the cursing of your servant. Remember, you curse people also. And it says what? In conduct, in your conduct and how you govern yourself, in love, and in ahab. In what? In amunah, in purity, inside of a purity and pure mind. "Until I come, devote yourselves to public readings and scriptures, to exhortation, to teachings. Do not neglect the gift that you have, which was given to you by Nabal, when the council of the elders laid their hands on you." He says, that's what they did. "Practice these things, immerse yourself in them, so that all may see your progress." He said, immerse yourself in what? In learning, in the Torah, in the Abli Lashon, in learning the words, learning the alphabet. Delight yourself in all the circumference of it. Fill your heart with it so much, to where it is just infused in your whole body, to where it just takes control, and now you become this being in the earth. "Keep a close watch on yourself." So this is the part he said everybody has to look at. He says, keep close watch on you, because you got to watch yourself. Watch yourself do what? And on the teaching. He said, and on the teaching. So he said, keep close watch and on the teaching. For what? persist in this. Why? For by so doing you will save both yourself. You say, I'll save myself, everybody else, and guess what he says? And your hearers. He said, what? And the people who hear. So he said, I gotta pay attention to myself and the teaching. He said, I both save myself and those who hear. He said, if I don't do these things, then something's gonna happen. This is Deuteronomy chapter 15. Deuteronomy chapter 15. Deuteronomy chapter 15. And verse 1. At the end of every 7 years, ye shall grant a release. Right? It's just the 7 days. Sword, knife, word, law, rest, perfection. But also you do it after 7 years. Just how we do it after every 7 weeks. And we got Kal Shabbat. Right? All this all important. And it says, every creditor shall release what he has lent to his neighbor. He said, what you lent. Creditor. I lent you something, I gave you something, and guess what? Now, 7 years have passed and you haven't paid it back. So now, I gotta release you of that. I must do that. And it says right here, he shall not exact to his neighbor, he shall not exact it of his neighbor, his brothers, because Yahuwah's release has been proclaimed. So if Yahuwah's release has been proclaimed, and you want to still hold after 7 years, you're a transgressor. He says, I proclaim to you to release them. It's been way over 7 years. And get what it says. Of a foreigner you may exact it, but whatever of yours is with your brother, your hand shall release. He said, your hand shall release. Why? He said, your hand got to release it. Why your hand got to release it? And guess what it says? But there will be no poor among you, for Yahuwah will barak you in the land that Yahuwah your Elohim is giving you for an inheritance to possess. If you will strictly obey the voice of Yahuwah your Elohim, be careful to do all this commandment that I command you today. For Yahuwah your Elohim will barak you as he has promised you, and ye shall lend to many nations. And he said, why people ain't got no money? Why people ain't got no prosperity? Why? First of all, you don't even release people from their debt after 7 years. Matter of fact, you can't even do it after Shabbat, when people have done things against you in your life. He said, you can't even do it. Because tomorrow, you don't know what a day may hold. You don't know what tomorrow may bring. It may be your last day. And he says, you should be able to do this. And guess what it says? For Yahuwah your Elohim will barak you as he has promised you, and you shall lend to many nations, but you shall not borrow. And you shall rule over many going nations, but they shall not rule over you. He said, why? Because everybody's an oppressor. That's why you don't have any. That's why he can't put you over anything. That's why you can't rule. That's why Adam, he said, why are we not over all the things that we used to be? Because he said, y'all oppressors. You can't be oppressing your brother, sister, your neighbor, your mother, your father, your close friend. You can't even oppress an animal. And get what it says. If among you one of your brothers or sisters become poor, become what? Become poor in any of your towns within your land that Yahuwah your Elohim is giving you. So that's within your quarters, within your vicinity. And guess what it says? And you shall harden your heart. You shall what? You shall harden your heart or shut up your hand against the poor brother or sister. But he says, but you shall not harden your heart or shut your hand against your poor brother or sister. But you shall open your hand to him and lend him sufficient for his need, whatever it may be. Take care, lest there be an unworthy thought. So he said, be careful to do all his commandments. He said, take care. This is what we read in Timothy. He said, pay attention to the teaching. He says, take care, lest there be an unworthy thought. So we got thoughts that can be unworthy to be in your mind. She said, that's an unworthy thought. How many unworthy thoughts do we actually take inventory of? Like, that's an unworthy thought. That shouldn't even be in my mind. That's unworthy. You're unworthy to even be in my mind. And people try to sow that stuff in your heart. And people saying, why you want you to sow it in your heart? Because they're trying to create something to be put in your thought process. Whether it's on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, reality, digital, it doesn't matter. Why? Because it's an unworthy thought. And what is an unworthy thought not supposed to do? An unworthy thought in your heart, and you say the seventh year, so you're already plotting, so you smart, you intelligent, you know the law, and you're trying to get around it. You're like, yeah, the seventh year coming around, I ain't got to really do nothing for that person. You know what? He gonna get released from all his debt anyway. He ain't gonna have all that pressure on his back anymore. It doesn't matter. The seventh year coming up, so I let him suffer a little bit more. But even though the seventh year comes, I let him to keep suffering though. And get what it says: the seventh year, the year of release, is near. So you already know it's coming. And get what it says: and your eye look grudgingly on your poor brother or sister, and you give him nothing, because the seventh year of release is coming. You know what? Let him suffer a little bit more. I ain't got to worry about that. He said, you don't even want to do it. Guess what it says? And he cried to Yahuwah against you, and you be guilty of sin. He said, your hesitation, your staggering is your sin. And guess what? And you shall give, and guess what? You shall give to him freely, and your heart shall not be grudgingly when you give to him. You said you shouldn't even have an unworthy thought in your mind when you're doing it. And get what it says. Because for this, Yahuwah, your Elohim, will barak you in all. He will barak you in all your work and in all that you undertake. So me giving to the poor withholds my barak, withholds my blessings. He said, yeah. It withholds it from you. It don't even allow you to have it. And get what it says. For there will never cease the poor of the land. He said, there ain't never going to cease. Therefore I command you, you shall open wide your hand to your brother or sister, to the needy, and to the poor in your land. He said, you shall open it wide. He said, why? He said, why? Right, so this is the book of Matthew. Book of Matthew, chapter 26, verse 10. Matthew chapter 26, verse 10. Matthew chapter 26, verse 10. He said, but Yahusha aware and said to them, why do you trouble the woman? For she has done a beautiful thing to me. The year release is on its way. Yahusha getting ready to die for your sins, and he getting ready to be sacrificed on the cross. You know what? You don't need to do nothing for him. You don't need to do nothing for him. You ain't got to do nothing. Don't worry about it. And he says, for you always have the poor with you, huh? Yahusha's like, you always have the poor with you. Guess what he's saying? I'm a poor man. I'm a poor man. He says, you will not always have me. He said, I'm a poor man. I'm getting ready to die. The year of release getting ready to happen. Matter of fact, I'm getting ready to release all of y'all of your sin. And guess what it says? In pouring this ointment on my body, she has done it to prepare me for my burial. He said, you did it for my burial, right? So this is the book of Deuteronomy, Dabarim, chapter 24, verse 14. Deuteronomy, chapter 24, Dabarim, chapter 24, verse 14. 24 and 14. He says, you shall not oppress a hired worker who is poor and needy. Why do you trouble a woman? Why you trouble a woman? You shouldn't oppress that woman. This could be sold for much money and given to the poor. He said, why are you troubling the woman? You get what he says? Whether he is one of your brothers or one of the sojourners who are in your land within your towns. He said you shouldn't do that. He said you shouldn't even do that. He said you shouldn't even do that. This is Leviticus 25 and 24. Leviticus 25 and 23. Leviticus 25 and 23. The land shall not be sold he says, perpetually, for the land is mine. For you are strangers and sojourners with me. And in all the country you possess, ye shall allow a redemption of the land. If your brother becomes poor and sells part of his property, and he what? He becomes poor and sells part of his property, because you know what happens when you have a land that's real big, like say 20 acres, 10 acres, you can actually lot it out, or I say make a partial land. You can like make it into multiple lots, and you can sell them to other people. They did that today. It's the same thing, same system, and you can allot it to other people, and you can gain money off of that. So I have 50 acres. I could put 20 of it for allotment for other people to buy. It says, if your brother becomes poor and sells part of his property, then his nearest redeemer shall come and redeem what his brother has sold. So he's saying he said your brother got to do it. He says, you see your brother, he's selling part of his land. He said you need to go buy it from him. If you have the money. Why? Why does he say that? If a man has no one to redeem it, and then himself becomes prosperous and finds sufficient means to redeem it, let him calculate the years since he sold it, and pay back the balance to the man to whom he sold it. Pay it back, and then return to his property. But if he does not have sufficient means to recover it, then what he sold shall remain in the hand of the buyer until the year of Jubilee, until the year of release. He said, your brother come and buy that piece of land to redeem you, and then guess what? After a year, really, you still owning it? He said, it's the Jubilee. You got to let him go free. Let him have his stuff back. He said, so I only bought it just to give him money because he was coming poor? Exactly. And then after the 7 years, guess what you need to do? You need to give him all his land back. In that Jubilee, it shall be released, and he shall return to his property. He said, you give it all back to him. So he's saying, my brother's becoming poor. He got land, he lotted out, and I buy his land, give him money for that. That's helping the poor. And then after that, when it's time for the Jubilee, I give it back to him. I give it the whole land back to him after the Jubilee is over. And guess what? It's a commandment. And guess what happens? Yahuwah will make you prosperous in everything you do. He said, this is Jubilee. I can give the land back. I give the land back to you. So now you got your full price of your land and the money I gave you. You can keep that too. And Yahuwah said, I'll make you prosperous in everywhere you go. So this is the book of Acts chapter 4 verse 32. This is the book of Acts chapter 4 verse 32. Acts chapter 4 verse 32. Of course it's in English, but hey, we're going to still read it. Right? Acts chapter 4 verse 32. Now you go in, our reading is going to be a little deeper. Right? It's Acts chapter 4 verse 32. And it says, now the full number of those who believe were of one heart and one soul. So if you believe, you are one heart and one soul. You are Qahalath. The two shall become one. A Qahalath. Because he made them one. There's only one Amun. Just like it was in the beginning. He made them one. And guess what happens? When we talked about unity in the Testament of Zabulon, he said, you know what's going to happen to those people. But it says right here, now the full number of those who believe were of one heart and one soul, and no one said that any of the things belonged to him was his own, but they had everything common. Let's see. Why did they do that? Let's see what happened. Because that's the same thing he had in Torah. He said everything common. Let's see. And with great power, the Shalakim were given their testimony to the resurrection of Yahushua Mashiach, the Master. And what did he say? And great Khan was upon them all. Yahushua said, I'll make you prosper in all that you do, in all your undertakings. Let's see what happened. There was none, not a needy person among them. Didn't we just read that? He said there would not be no one poor among you. Let's see what happened. For as many as were owners of lands or houses sold them and brought the proceeds of what was sold. Oh, the same thing. When he said they sold part of their lands, they didn't sell all their land. It said they sold them houses and brought them proceeds. They sold some of the stuff that they had. And they brought the proceeds of what they sold, just like the man parted out his land for lots, and the man and his brother came and bought it. And then what did he do with the money? By buying the land from his brother, he gave him the money. And guess what happened? And laid it at the Shalakim's feet, and it was distributed to each as any had need. Because the poor, it would not be no poor in your vicinity. They was only doing what the Torah says. Because for some reason, Jerusalem during that time was not doing it. And get what it says. Thus Joseph, who was called by the Shalakim Barnabas, which means son of encouragement, a Levite. So he was a Louis. What he was actually doing? They were just showing you what the Torah says. And then what it said? Sold a field that belonged to him and brought the money and laid it at the Shalakim's feet. So he sold. He wasn't poor. He had money. He had land. It wasn't just one person owned the land. No, they all had land. They all had possessions. They all had things. And they sold some of those things and they gave it to them to give to other people who were poor. So there wouldn't be no poor people in your land or in your vicinity, in your faction within Jerusalem. Because that's what they are. They're a separate faction from Jerusalem themselves who believe on Yahushua Mashiach. Let's see right here, verse 5. But a man named Ananias with his wife Sapphira sold a piece of property, and with his wife's knowledge he kept back for himself some of the proceeds and brought only a part of it and laid it at the Shalakim's feet. And what did he do? But Koph said, Ananias, why has Satan filled your heart to lie to the Qahalath Ruach and keep back yourself the proceeds of the land that you sold, that everybody said they were going to do? Why? Because you read in the Torah, he said you're supposed to open your arms wide to the poor. And then when you buy the land, when you actually help your brother out, he said when a year of release comes, matter of fact, you need to give him all his stuff back. Because who did they sell the land to? Who did they sell their land to? They sold it to their brothers and sisters. They sold it. He said, so you think they didn't know how much the land cost? Because they were selling it amongst themselves. And guess what it says? He said later, the Shalakim, but Koph and Ananias, why has Satan filled your heart to lie to God's Ruach to keep back yourselves part of the proceeds of the land? While it remained unsold, did it not remain in your own? It was yours. And after it was sold, was it not at your disposal? It's yours. You've been redeemed. You just made a whole bunch of money off of it. Why is it that you have contrived this deed in your heart? You have not lied to man, but to Elohim. Why? Because the Torah says you're supposed to, when it comes to people being poor, you need to be open your arms wide to the poor, because the poor ain't never going to cease from you. When Ananias heard these words, he fell down and breathed his last. He's like, that was it. He said he breathed his last. Because he lied to the Ruach, so the Ruach left him. That's all that happened. Because he breathed into man's nostrils and man became a living being, living soul. Neshama, Ruach, Neshama. And get what it says. The young man rose and wrapped him up and carried him out and buried him. And after the interval of about 3 hours, his wife came in. Now knowing what had happened, and Qahalath said to her, "Tell me whether you sold the land for so much," because he already knew how much the land was worth. He already knew how much they sold it for. And get what happens? And she said, "Yes, for so much." But Qahalath said to her, "How is it that you have agreed together to test the Ruach of Yahuwah? What? How have you agreed together to transgress the Torah?" And guess what he said? But Qahalath said to her, "How is it that you have agreed together to test the Ruach of Yahuwah? Behold, the feet of those who have buried your husband are at the door. They will carry you out." Immediately she fell down at his feet and breathed her last. And when the young men came in, they found her dead. And they carried her out and buried her beside her husband. And great fear came upon the whole body and upon all who heard these things. He said, "Why? You might want to keep the Torah. You might want to do what it says. You might want to do what it says, right?" He said, "There should be no poor among us. Because we follow Yahushua Mashiach. We're not those in the wilderness that transgress the Torah." He's like, "No, we follow Yahushua Mashiach. So guess what? Ain't nobody poor." He said, "How much land you got?" "I got about 5 pieces of property, 10. "How many can you sell?" "About 3. "Okay. Who you gonna sell?" "Such and such can buy it." "Okay." Such and such among the brothers, so they buy it, and then guess what? Then guess what they do? They redeem their brother. But then the brothers who buy it, the sisters buy it, say, I paid this much money for the property. And then they come back, "Yeah, it was only this amount of money." He said, "How he gonna lie like that? We already know how much you sold it for. You sold it to your brother over there, your sister over there. We already know how much you bought it for." Right? But here we go. This is the book of, I wasn't even supposed to go there. This is Job chapter 5, verse 14. This is Aydah chapter 4, Job chapter 5, verse 13. Yeah, Job chapter 5, verse 11. Job chapter 5, verse 11. It says, "He sets on high those who are lowly, those who are humble." Why? Why do you think he put Yahushua up? He said, "The son of Adam be lifted up, I'm going to draw people to myself." Why he said, this woman, why are you troubling her? She can't do this for my burial. Why do you think he set him on high? You get what it says? "And those who mourn are lifted to safety." It says, "He frustrates the devices of the crafty." Why do you think all the people came to Qahalath? He like, "Y'all were real crafty, huh?" He says, "So that their hands achieve no success." Oh, then he said he's going to barak you in all your hands and all the things you do with your hands. He said you're supposed to open your hands wide to the poor. If the poor ain't going to cease out of your land. But if you're crafty and you don't want to do it, the year of release is coming. 7 years is up. It's almost up. I ain't going to do nothing. I'm going to keep back the proceeds too. Even though my brother or sister bought the land from me and they know how much it costs, I'm going to still keep back it, even though it's a blatant lie to everybody's face. You get what he says? He frustrates the devices of the crafty so that their hands achieve no success. He's like, that's why we ain't successful. He's like, y'all don't even let the debt go free. You can't even forgive nobody after 7 years. You hold it over their head for 10, 15, 30 years. Right? And he says, he catches the wise in their own craftiness, because you wise to do evil. He said, "I caught you. You think you're going to lie like that?" He said, "You ever have somebody lie to your face like the Philistines did? Philistines did Yitzhak when they stopped up his wells. they caused the whole thing to happen and they act like they ain't do nothing. He's like, you just do that and you make me leave? And get what he says? He says, and the schemes of the wily are brought to a quick end. That's why they died so fast. He's like, why they died so quick? He's like, they gone that quick? He's like, yeah, he said, they're gonna carry you out. Just that fast. He said, quick and powerful, sharper than a two-edged sword. That's what the bar is, right? They meet with darkness and in the daytime and grope at noonday as in the night. But he saves the needy. Huh? Oh, he saved the needy. He cut them off real quick. And he's like, I'm finna help this poor people. I'm finna save the needy. The poor people around, he said, why you kept back the proceeds? I'm gonna save the needy. It's a year release. You get what it says? From the sword of their mouth and from the hand of the mighty, he saved the needy. So the poor have hope. He said the poor have hope. And what? And injustice shuts her mouth. He's like, look, he said the injustice, he said they quick, they say, be quiet. He said they shut their mouth. And get what it says. Behold, Barak is the one whom Yahuwah reproves. He said, Barak is the one Yahuwah reproves. Therefore, despise not the discipline of the Shadi, for he wounds, but he builds up. He shatters, but his hand heals. His hand redeems. His hand redeemed. Why do you think he told you to open your eye after the 7th year? After 7 years, he's like, you just need to release some of their debt. His hand heals. And that's what your hand is supposed to do when you open your hand wide to the poor. It's supposed to heal. And get what it says. He will deliver you from 6 troubles, and in 7, no evil shall touch you. Why do you think he called it a year release? He said, no evil shall touch you. In famine, he will redeem you. There are going to be pestilence, famines, earthquakes in diverse places. In famine, he will redeem you from death. In war, from the power, and in war, from the power of the sword. There are going to be famines, earthquakes, wars, and rumors of wars. Nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom, city against city. And in wars, you shall be hidden from the lash of the tongue, and shall not fear destruction when it comes. At destruction and famine you shall laugh. Do you laugh at that? He's like, destruction and famine, it ain't gonna happen to me. But he said, well, you know why? Because his hand healed me. Matter of fact, he quickly cut off the crafty. And get what it says, and you shall not fear the beasts of the earth. Because you know what the day of Yahuwah like. Bears, snakes, and lions. And get what it says. For you shall be in league with the stones of the field, and the beasts of the field shall be at peace with you. They're going to be at peace with you. Why? Because you're not doing anything that make Yahuwah upset. And his wrath come upon you. The animals going to be at shalom with you. All the animals in the sea, all the animals on land, and all the animals in the air, and the birds and the ravens and all the other birds that's going to be eating other people's food. He said they're going to be at peace with you. Even the creatures that are going to come from the earth and sting people. He said everything going to be at peace with you. He says, for you shall be in league with the stones of the field, and the beasts of the field shall be at peace with you. And you shall know that your tent is at peace, and you shall inspect your fold and miss nothing. Right, so this is the book of Yashar, chapter 41. Book of Yashar, chapter 41. The book of Yashar, chapter 41, and verse 6. Book of Yashar, chapter 41, verse 6. Book of Yashar, chapter 41, verse 6. It says, and when Yusuf saw the strength of his brethren and their greatness, he praised them and extolled them, but he ranked himself greater than them. He did that for himself. What did he do? He ranked himself greater than them and extolled himself above them. And Jacob, his father, also loved him more than any of his sons. He said he extolled him and he put him above all his brothers. He was stronger than them. He's like, my brothers are strong, but he put himself above them. Let's see why. For he was a son of his old age. He said, that's why. You know how a child is? I'm going to be better than all my brothers. Even though my brothers are all strong, I'm going to be even greater than all of them. That's what a little child, that's what the little child, what do you think a little child coming up thinking? He's like, I'm going to be greater than all of them. And guess what happens? And though his love toward him, he made him a coat of many colors. He did. Verse 7 says, and when Yusuf saw that his father loved him, so when you know your father loved you, because he said, I'm going to make you, all the animals be at peace with you. I'm going to put you back where you were before. As you read in Deuteronomy and Leviticus. And he says right here, and when Yusuf saw that his father loved him more than his brother, he continued to exalt himself above his brothers. He's like, my father loves me, so being that my father loves me, if I exalt myself, it's safe. Above them. He said, if he don't love you, he said, what do you mean? How you know the father love you, right? How you know he says, how he knew that? He said, being that, he said, he continued to exalt himself over his brother. And he brought unto his father evil reports concerning them. He said he brought unto his father evil reports concerning them. And the sons of Jacob, seeing the whole of Yusuf's conduct towards them, and that his father loved him more than any of them, they hated him and could not speak peaceably to him all his days. They said they can't even talk. He said they can't even talk. He said they can't even talk peaceably. Right, so this is the book of Matthew. This is the book of Matthew. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 19. So Yahushua said to them, truly I say to you, the Son can do nothing of his own accord, but only what he sees the Father doing. Whatsoever the Father does, the Son does likewise. What do you think Yusuf was doing? He said, the Father loved me. And get what he said? For the Father loves the Son. Why do you think Jacob loved his son? The Father loves the Son and shows him all that he himself is doing. And greater works than these will he show him, so that you may marvel. He said, every time my Father loves me, and he's showing me things that he ain't showing the other brothers. He's showing me things he ain't showing the other brothers, the strong brothers. He's like, I'm being exalted above them. And guess what he said? And the greater works than these will he show him, so that you may marvel. For as the Father raises the dead and gives them life, so also the Son gives life to whom he will. He's like, the Son will give life to whom he will. I'm going to do the same thing. For the Father judges no one. The Father judges no one, but has given all judgment to the Son. He said, Yusuf will bring out evil reports of his brothers. It says that all may honor the Son, just as they honored the Father. He said, but his brothers wouldn't speak peacefully to him. Right? This is Yuchanan chapter 8. This is Yuchanan chapter 8 in verse 38. Yuchanan chapter 8, verse 34. It says, Yahushua answered, Yuchanan chapter 8, verse 34, and Yahushua answered them, truly, truly, I say to you, everyone who practices sin is a slave of sin. He said Yusuf brought an evil report of his brothers to his father. And get what it says? The slave does not remain in the house forever. The son remains in the house forever. Why didn't he say the father loved the son? And why the brothers was that? The brothers was out there in the field. And he was sending Yusuf to go see about his brothers and check on them to see what they're doing. So if the Son sets you free, you will be free indeed. He said you will be released indeed. Matter of fact, I'm going to open my hand wide. Matter of fact, you're after the 7th year, you're going to be free from all your debt. I know that you are offspring of Abraham, yet you seek to kill me. Because my word has no place in you. I speak of what I have seen with my father, and you do not know what you heard from your father. They answered him, Abraham is our father. You shall answer him, if you were Abraham's children, you will be doing the works Abraham did, but you seek to kill me, a man who has told you the truth that I heard from Elohim. This is not what Abraham did. You are doing the works your father did. He said, you seek to kill me. And that's what Yusuf was saying, right? Going to Bereshit, right? So this is Genesis chapter, actually go to the book of Yasher, Bereshit chapter 41, Genesis chapter 41. Genesis chapter 41, Bereshit chapter 41. Genesis chapter 41. Genesis chapter 41 and verse 1. Actually, let's go to Genesis. Let's go to Bereshit chapter 39. Let's go to Bereshit chapter 40. Yeah, Bereshit chapter 40. Verse 1. Bereshit chapter 40, verse 1. Sometime after this, the cupbearer of the king of Mizraim and his baker committed an offense against their master, the king of Mizraim. And Pharaoh was angry with his two officers and the chief cupbearer and the chief baker, and put them in custody in the home of the captain of the guard. And the prison of Yusuf was confined. So the captain of the guard appointed Yusuf to be with them, and he attended them. They continued for some time in custody. And one night they both dreamed, and the cupbearer and the baker and the king of Mizraim, who were confined in prison, each his own dream, and each dreamed with his own interpretation. When Yusuf came to them in the morning, he saw that they were troubled. So he asked Pharaoh's officers who were with him in custody in his master's house, why are your faces downcast today? They said to him, we have had dreams, and there is no one to interpret them. And Yusuf said, do not your interpretation belong to Elohim? Please tell them to me. So the chief cupbearer told him his dream, and Yusuf said to him, in my dream there was a vine before me, and on the vine there were 3 branches, and as soon as it budded, it blossomed, shoots forth, and the clusters ripened in grapes. Right? And get what happened? Pharaoh's cup was in my hand, and I looked, and I took the grapes and pressed them into Pharaoh's cup, and placed the cup in Pharaoh's hand. Then Yusuf said, this is an interpretation. 3 branches are 3 days, and in 3 days Pharaoh will lift up your head and restore you to your office, and you shall place Pharaoh's cup in your hand as formerly when you were his cupbearer. Only remember me when it is well with you, and please do not do me kindness to mention me to Pharaoh, so to get me out of this house. He's like, you're gonna get me out of here. He said, you're gonna get me out of here. And get what happened? For I was indeed stolen out of the land of the Abri, and here also I have done nothing that they should put me into the pit. He's like, they put me in this pit, and I'm innocent. I'm innocent in prison. And it says, and when the chief baker saw that the interpretation was favorable, he said to Yusuf, I also had a dream. There were three cake baskets on my head, and in the uppermost basket there were all sorts of baked food for Pharaoh. But the birds were eating it out of the basket on my head. And Yusuf answered and said, this is the interpretation. In the 3 baskets are 3 days, and in 3 days Pharaoh will lift up your head from you and hang you on the tree, and the birds will eat flesh from you. On the 3rd day, which was Pharaoh's birthday, he made a feast for all the servants and lifted up his head to the chief cupbearer and his head of the chief baker, and the head of the chief baker among his servants. He restored the chief cupbearer to his position, and he placed the cupbearer in Pharaoh's hand. And he hanged the chief baker as Yusuf had interpreted to them. Yet the chief cupbearer did not remember Yusuf, but forgot him. Right? He said he forgot him. Right, so this is the Aramaic Targums. This is the Aramaic Targums, Jonathan. The Aramaic Targums, Jonathan, chapter 41, in verse 25. Right, this is another verse. It says, "And he placed the cup in Pharaoh's hand, and the chief baker he hanged, because he had plotted to kill him." He did what? He said he plotted to kill him, and Yusuf had interpreted for them, because Yusuf had abandoned the favor that is above, and had trusted in the chief cupbearer in flesh that passes. Therefore, the chief cupbearer did not remember Yusuf, but forgot him until the time appointed from before Yahuwah for him to be released had come. So when it's time for him to be released had come, he had to stay in there until it was time for him to be released from all his debt. He said to be released from all his debt. He said, you stop trusting in him, that's above. And guess what? Yahuwah's like, you know what? Being that you did that, you have to wait till it's time for you to be released. Just like the year of release. Right? This is the book of Proverbs chapter 3. Proverbs chapter 3. Because he said, the Father is showing me all things, and showing me all things he is doing. You think Yusuf knew that? But Yusuf was highly exalted in his mind, because he thought he knew everything. He did, but he ain't know what Yahuwah was doing though. The only person who knew that was the son, Yahushua Mashiach. He knew everything Yahuwah was doing, but the Yusuf during that time did not know what Yahuwah was doing. But he got exalted though. Right here in Proverbs chapter 3, verse 1. "My son, do not forget my teaching, but let your heart keep my commandments. For length of days and years and life and peace will add to you. Let not steadfast love and faithfulness forsake you. Bind them around your neck. Write them upon the tables of your heart. So you will find favor and good success." What happens to the people who open their arms wide to the poor? They have good success. And get what it says? In the sight of Yahuwah and man. This is what Yusuf didn't do. Trust in Yahuwah with all your heart. That's what he did not do. So Yahuwah's like, okay. But he did. But see, he said you're going to find good success in both Elohim and man if you give to the poor, though. Let's see. It says, trust in Yahuwah with our heart. Do not lean to your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make straight your paths. Be not wise in your own eyes. Fear Yahuwah and turn away from evil. Why do you think he was telling them, remember me when you get out and get me out of here? That was being wise in your own eyes. Because you really actually thought that your words were going to prosper and get you out. But Yahushua said, Yahuwah's showing me all that the Son. He said, all that the Son is doing. And he said, greater works than these he's going to show you. Show you. Right? Greater works, right? So this is the book of Bereshit, chapter 42. Bereshit, chapter 42, 25. Genesis 42, 25. Genesis 42, Bereshit 42, 42, and 25. Bereshit chapter 42 and actually let's go here. Yeah, Bereshit. Let's go to Bereshit chapter 41 and 53. Let's go there first and then we go. Bereshit chapter 41 verse 53. The 7 years of plenty that occurred in the land of Mizraim came to an end, and the 7 years of famine began to come. Right, there are going to be wars and rumors of wars, famines, pestilence, and earthquakes in diverse places. But he said, in famine, you're gonna laugh. And get what it says. And get what it says. In all the lands, and in all the lands of Mizraim, there was bread. When all the land of Mizraim was famished, the people cried to Pharaoh for bread. Pharaoh said to all the Egyptians, "Go to Yusuf what he says to you, do. Why do you think Yahushua said, he said, if you don't eat my flesh and drink my blood, you have no life in you. He said, come unto me, all that are heavy laden and burdened, and I'll give you rest. He said, the seventh day, the Zan. Take my yoke upon me and learn from me, for I'm meek and lowly. He said, all he said is do. And he said, you'll find rest for your soul. You'll find the Zan. You'll find the 7th letter of the alphabet. And get what it says. It says, go to Yusuf, and what he said to you, do. So when the famine had spread over all the land, Yusuf opened all the storehouses and sold to the Egyptians. For the famine was severe in the land. Notice who he sold it to. He sold it to the Egyptians. He sold it to them. Well, let's see what happened. Moreover, all the earth came to Mizraim, to Yusuf, to buy grain, because the famine was severe over all the earth. Why? Because there's going to be famines and earthquakes in diverse places. But let's see what happened. Verse 42. When Jacob learned that there was grain for sale in Mizraim, he said to his sons, why do you look at one another? What you looking around for? You know that food in there? He said, behold, I have heard that there is grain for sale in Mizraim. Go down and buy grain for us there, that we may live and not die. So 10 of Yusuf's brothers went down to buy grain in Mizraim, but Jacob did not send Benjamin, Yusuf's brother, with all his brothers, for he feared that harm might happen to him. Thus the sons of Yasharal came to buy among the others who came, for the famine was in the land of Canaan. Now Yusuf was governor over the land. He was the one who sold to all the people in the land. And Yusuf's brothers came and bowed themselves before him to their faces to the ground. He said they bowed themselves to their faces to the ground. And let's see what happened. Yusuf saw his brothers and recognized them. So he saw and recognized them. So he recognized his brothers. You know, the brothers that are supposed to keep the covenant and the commandments. And let's see what happened. He recognized them, but he treated them like strangers. So he treated them like what? Like the strangers that sojourn among Yasharal. Oh. And let's see what happened. And spoke roughly to them. And he did what? He treated them like roughly to them. Why? Why did he do that? Let's see what happened. Where do you come from? He's like, where are you coming from? And they said, from the land of Canaan, to buy food. And Yusuf recognized his brothers, but they did not recognize him. And Yusuf remembered the dreams that he had. Dream. What dream? He said the father loves the son. He showed him everything that he is doing. And he said to them, you are spies. You have come to see the nakedness of the land. They said to him, no, my master. Your servants have come to buy food. He said, you come here to loot. You a bunch of looters. We came here to buy. We ain't come here to steal. You get what it says? We are all the sons of one man. Because there's only one head. 2 shoulders, 2 hands, and 2 feet. We are the sons of one man. We are honest men. Supposed to be. We don't steal. Your servants have never been spies. We ain't like that. And he said to them, no, it is the nakedness of the land that you have come to see. And they said, we are your servants, our 12 brothers. We are what? We're 12 brothers. 12 brothers to do what? The sons of one man in the land of Canaan. And behold, the youngest is this day with our father, and is no more. But Yusuf said to them, it is, he said, it is as I have said to you. You are spies. But this you shall be tested. Right? Going to verse 25, verse 23. It says, they did not know that Yusuf understood them, for there was an interpreter between them. Because they were speaking another language. They were speaking Arbli Lashon. They were bringing another language. And he was interpreting another language. Because they were bilingual. They say bilingual. And get what it says. And he turned away from them and wept. And he returned to them and spoke to them. And he took Simeon from them and bound him before their eyes. And Yusuf gave orders to fill their bags with grain. and replace every man's money in his sack. Why would he do that? Why didn't Yusuf oppress the poor? Because the poor shall not cease out of the land. He said, what were they poor for? They had plenty of money. So what were they poor? Eating bread. They were poor. He said they were poor. And he says, and he replaced every man's money in his sack, and to give them provisions for their journey. This was done for them. Then they loaded their donkeys with their grain and departed. And as one of them opened his sack to give his donkey fodder at the lodging place, he saw his money in his sack. He said, they saw the money. They're like, hold up. We gave you money for the bread. Just like the man gave you money for the land. And what did he do? And he said to his brothers, my money has been put back in here. It is in the mouth of my sack. Then after the year release, he gave them all the money back. He gave them all the land back. Just like the year release. Because he held the money for a second. He gave it to the poor man. He gave it to the poor. And guess what happened? After they realized that he put all the money back and gave them bread, he gave them all the stuff back. Not only I gave you your money back, I gave you the bread. Not only I gave you your money back, not only I gave you money for the poor, but also I gave you your land back. Just like it was in Deuteronomy. But he is in a different way, the same thing. Good heart. One mind. And get what? And he said to his brothers, my money has been put back. Here it is in the mouth of my sack. And he says, at this, their hearts failed them. He said, man, it's like, man, they fainted. Man, what happened? Because you know why? Because they came there to spend money and they ain't had to spend no money. They came to buy bread and they ain't had to pay for nothing. That sound familiar? But it said right here, it says, this, their heart would fail them. And they turned trembling to one another, saying, what is this that Elohim Yahuwah has done to us? And what is this that Yusuf has done for us? And they say, no, what has Yahuwah done for us? What has he done? And get what he says. And when they came to you, he said, what has he done? Right, so this is the book of, we almost finished. This is the book of Yashar, chapter 53. Book of Yashar, chapter 53. The book of Yashar, chapter 53. The book of Yashar, chapter 53. Book of Joshua, chapter 53. Book of Yashar, chapter 53. Book of Yashar, chapter 53, verse 16. That's it. Book of Yashar, chapter 53, verse 13. And he also placed the others according to their births. And he said, I know that this your youngest brother has no brother, and I, like him, have no brother. He shall therefore sit down and eat with me. And Benjamin went up before Yusuf and sat upon the throne. And the men beheld the acts of Yusuf, and they were astonished at them. And the men ate and drank at that time with Yusuf. And he gave presents unto them. And Yusuf gave one gift unto Benjamin. And Manasseh and Ephraim saw the act of their father. And they also gave presents, and they also gave presents unto him. And Asenath gave him one present, and they were 5 presents in the hand of Benjamin. And Yusuf brought them out wine to drink, and they would not drink, and they would not drink. And they said, from the day on which Yusuf was lost, we have not drunk wine nor eaten any delicacies. Why? He said, because they took Yusuf. He said, we ain't drink no wine nor eat any delicacies. We ain't do that. Matter of fact, he said we wouldn't drink it because Yusuf was taken. And Yusuf swore unto them, and he pressed them hard, and they drank plentifully with him on that day. And Yusuf afterwards turned to his brothers Benjamin to speak with him, and Benjamin was still sitting upon the throne before Yusuf. And Yusuf said unto him, Hast thou begotten any children? And he said, Thy servant has 10 sons, and these are their names. Right, skipping down. Verse 18. It says, And he ordered them to bring before him his map of the stars, whereby Yusuf knew all the times. And Yusuf said to Benjamin, I have heard that the Hebrews are acquainted with all wisdom. Dost thou know anything of this? And Benjamin said, Thy servant is knowing also in all the wisdom which my father taught me. In all wisdom he taught me. And Yusuf said unto Benjamin, Look now at this instrument, and understand where thy brother Yusuf is in Mizraim, who you said went down to Mizraim. And Benjamin beheld the instrument with the map of the stars of the Shamayim, and he was wise and looked therein to know where his brother was. And Benjamin divided the whole land of Mizraim into 4 divisions. He did what? He divided all the stars, the constellations of Mizraim into 4 divisions, just like the 4 transition times of the 364-day cycle. And he put it in the 4 divisions, in the 4 corners. And what did he do with the star map after he put it in the 4 corners? He said, and he found that he was sitting upon the throne before him was his brother Yusuf. And Benjamin wondered greatly. And when Yusuf saw that his brother Benjamin was much astonished, he said unto him, Benjamin, why hast thou what thou hast seen? And why art thou astonished? And Benjamin said to Yusuf, I can see by this that Yusuf my brother sitteth here with me upon the throne. And Yusuf said unto him, I am Yusuf thy brother. Reveal not this thing unto thy brethren. Behold, I will send thee with them when they go away, and I will command them to be brought back again unto the city, and I will take thee away from them. And guess what happened after that? Verse 23, and at that time Yusuf commanded his officers to fill their sacks with food, and to put each man's money into his sack, and to put the cup in the sack of Benjamin, and to give them provisions for the road. And they did so unto him. And on the next day the men rose up early, and in the morning they loaded their donkeys and their corn, and they went forth with Benjamin, and they went into the land of Canaan, and with their brother Benjamin. And verse 25 says, they had not gone far from Mizraim when Yusuf commanded him that, he said, that was over his house, saying, Rise, pursue these men before they go too far from Mizraim, and say to them, Why have you stolen the master's cup? Right, so he plotted against them, but it was for a reason. Right, so going to the book of Testament, actually, Ology Ukanan, John chapter 3, verse 7. 1 John chapter 3 and verse 7. 1 John chapter 3, 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 verse 7. It says, Little children, let no one deceive you. Whosoever practices righteousness is righteous, as he is righteous. Whosoever makes a practice of sinning is of Satan, for Satan has been sinning from the beginning. And the reason the son of Elohim appeared was to destroy the works of Satan. No one born of Elohim makes a practice of sinning. Why do you think Yusuf was given to his brothers? He said, nobody makes a practice of doing this. He says, no one makes a practice of sinning, for Elohim's seed abides in him. And he cannot keep on sinning because he has been born of Elohim. By this it is evident who are the children of Elohim and who are the children of Satan. Whoever does not practice righteousness is not of Elohim, nor is the one who does not love his brother. Why do you think he did that? Why do you think he gave them the money they needed? Matter of fact, he put the money, ended up giving them the bread they needed. And he said, you know what? I got to find a way to get them here. Because if they stay where they are, they're not going to survive. Right? Because they're not going to survive. Right? So this is the book of Bereshit, or Genesis, chapter. Actually, no. Let's go to Matthew chapter 20, verse 9. 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 It says, and when those hired about the 11th hour came, each of them received a denarius. Now when those hired first came, they thought they should receive more. But each of them also received a denarius. He said, everybody got the same thing. But guess what it says? And on receiving it, they grumbled at the master of the house. Why? Because ain't gonna be no one poor among you. So I'm opening my arms wide for the poor. He said, what you grumbling against me for? And get what he says. They grumble at the master of the house, saying, these last workers only 1 hour. He said, these last worked 1 hour, only 1 hour, and you have made them equal to us, who have borne the burden of the day in the scorching heat. He's like, man, we went through summertime. Man, we done went through all that heat. But he replied to them, friend, I am doing you no wrong. Did you not agree with me for 1 denarius? That's what you agreed to. Because that's what you said. You agreed for that. And get what it says. Take what belongs to you and go. Why do you think Yusuf gave all the stuff back? He put the bread in their sack. He gave all their money back because it all belonged to them. And he said, go. And guess what happened? I choose to give to the last worker as I give to you. Am I not allowed to do what I choose with what belongs to me? Why do you think he did that? Why do you think Yusuf did that to his brothers? I can do whatever I want because it all belongs to me. He said all that Yusuf say, he said everybody go to him and whatever he say, do it. I can do whatever I want. Why do you think Yusuf was doing that? And it says, so the last will be first and the first will be last. Why do you think he numbered all his brothers from the youngest to the oldest? He said, Benjamin, y'all acquainted in all wisdom, right? Yeah, so here's the star map. Find out where Yusuf at. He's separated into 4 quadrants in Mizraim, and he said, my brother Yusuf sitting right here on the throne. Yahushua said, search the scriptures, and you think you have eternal life. It's only talking about me. That's all this person is talking about. It's all about me. Right, so this is the book of Testament of Zabulon. Actually, Testament of Zabulon. Yeah, Testament of Zabulon, chapter 2. Almost from Testament of Zabulon, chapter 2. Testament of Zabulon, chapter 2. Testament of Zabulon, chapter 2, and verse. Testament of Zabulon, chapter 2, and verse verse 15. Actually, yeah, 2:15. I saw a man in distress through nakedness in the wintertime, and had compassion upon him, and stole away a garment secretly from my father's house, and I gave it to him who was in distress. Why do you think Yusuf gave all that stuff to him in distress? There was a famine in the land. They had no bread. They had plenty of money, but they had nothing to eat. And get what he says. Do you therefore, my children, from that which Elohim bestoweth upon you, show compassion and mercy without hesitation to all men. Why do you think he did it? And give to every man with a good heart. And if you have not the withal to give to him that needeth, have compassion for him in the bowels of mercy. And know that my hand, have compassion of him in the bowels of mercy. I know that my hand found not the wherewithal to give to him that needed. And I walked with him weeping for 7 furlongs, and my bowels yearned toward him in compassion. What do you think Yusuf did to his brothers, right? And it said right here. And that's the only way you remember it. Verse 19, have therefore yourselves also, my children, compassion toward every man with mercy, and that Yahuwah may have compassion and mercy upon you. Because also in the last days I will send Elohim, Yahuwah will send his compassion on the earth, and whosoever he finds bowels of mercy, he dwells in him. For in the degree in which a man has compassion upon his neighbors, so in the same degree has Yahuwah compassion upon him. Because if you give to the poor, he said you're going to have much success. But guess what it says? And when we went down into Mizraim, Yusuf bore no malice against us. What did he do that for? To whom taketh heed, do ye therefore, my children, approve yourselves without malice, and love one another, and do not set down in account each one of you evil of his brother. For this breaketh unity, and divideth all kindred, and troubleth the soul, and weareth away the countenance. Why do you think Yusuf was doing what he was doing? Get what it says. It's the way the counsel. Observe therefore the waters, and know when they flow together. They sweep along stones and trees and earth and other things. But if they are divided into many streams, the earth swallowed them up, and they vanished away. Why do you think he was trying to keep them there? You stole the cup. Because he already did kindness to them by leaving the basket, putting the money back in with the bread. Then he put the cup to keep them there. Because he was trying to get them all there. Because if he knew if they left and they were divided again, they were going to die. He knew that. Right? He already knew that. All right, so this is the book of Proverbs chapter 22, verse 16. Proverbs chapter 22, verse 16. Proverbs chapter 22 and verse 16. Proverbs chapter 22 and verse 16. It says, whosoever oppresses the poor to increase his own wealth, or gives to the rich, will only come to poverty. Why do you think Yusuf wouldn't allow them to give him money? He said, you can do it to the stranger, but to your brothers, no. Why do you think he ain't allowed them to give him money? He said, you give it to a rich man. Yusuf was a rich man. He was second in command of Mizraim. All the people recognized him. He married Asenath and bought Ephraim and Manasseh. He had a house built for him. He said, I'm rich. I can't allow my brothers to give me money. Matter of fact, I can't even oppress them to increase my money. Because they did things to me. My brothers, the 12, they did things to me, and I can't even oppress them and not give them any bread and water. He said, I can't even do that. Yusuf couldn't even do that. I'm going to take their money and they're going to give me bread. No, I got to give them their bread and their money back. He says, and whoever gives to the rich will come to poverty. Why do you think he didn't do that? He said, I'm not going to take my brother's money. I'm rich. Why would I take my brother's money? They're going to come to poverty. I'm rich. I'll be oppressing the poor. And my way won't be prosperous anymore. And that rhymes. Isn't that what he said? Right, so this is the book of, this is Aleph Shemuel, 1 Samuel 10, 25 to 27. First Samuel 10, 25 to 27. 1 Samuel 10, Aleph Shemuel 10, 25. Then Shemuel told the people the rights and duties of the kingship, and he wrote them in a book and laid it before Yahuwah. Then Shemuel sent all the people away, each to his own house. Isn't that what Yusuf did? He sent them away, right? And this is what happened. It says, sent them to their own. It says, sent them each to his own home. Saul also went to his home at Gibeah, and with him went men of valor whose hearts Elohim had touched. But some worthless fellows, some sons of Belial, some worthless fellows said, "How can this man save us?" You know how they talk? They said, "How can this man save us? This king, how can this man save us?" And they despised him and brought him no present. They did what? They despised him and brought him no present. Amazingly, what did Yusuf give to all his brothers? Well, how many presents they brought for Benjamin? How many gifts he was bearing and giving to them? He was opening his arms wide for the poor. He ain't no worthless fellow. And guess what it said? He brought him no present, but he held his peace. And they despised him and brought him no present, but he held his peace. People saying, why you think Yahusha, when they brought him many accusations, he ain't answered not a word. When Yusuf offered them wine to drink, he said, "We ain't drink no wine, no delicacies, because our brother Yusuf was taken," in the book of Yashar. But what happened after that? Why did Yahusha when they offered him the wine to drink the first time, he didn't drink? Because Yahusha was taken. Oh, Yahusha was taken. He said, "We ate no delicacies because he was taken. We had no joy in our heart because we did wrong." Right, so this is the book of, he said, because we did wrong. Right, so this is the book of, he said, because they did wrong. They had no joy in their heart. So this is the book of Testament of Yusuf. It's a Testament of Yusuf. Testament of Yusuf. This is the Testament of Yusuf. 12-page Testament of Yusuf, Joseph. Chapter 2. Testament of Joseph, chapter 2. Testament of Joseph, chapter 2. Actually, go chapter 1. Go to chapter 1, verse 60. Testament of Joseph, chapter 2, verse 60. Let's go to chapter 2. Verse 50. 2 and 53. And 2 and 54. But since the eunuch would not agree to buy me at their price, he returned, having made trial of them. And he made known to his mistress that they asked a large price for their slave. And she sent another eunuch, saying, "Even though they demand 2 minas, give them. Do not spare the gold, only buy the boy and bring him to me." So Yusuf was sold to the Midianites, and then he sold him. He sold again. And it says, "And though I knew," verse 57 says, "And though I knew this, I held my peace, lest the eunuch should be put to shame." Right, going up to verse 54, sorry. But she sent, verse 55, but she sent another eunuch, saying, "Even though they demand 2 minas, give them. Do not spare the gold, only buy the boy and bring him to me." The eunuch therefore went and gave them 80 pieces of gold, and he received me. But the Egyptian woman, he says, but to the Egyptian woman he said, I have given 100. He what? But to the Egyptian woman he said, I only gave 100. Because he got him at a discount. So why you kept back the price of the land? But hey, it was for a reason. He said, why you kept back the price? You get what happened? It says, and though I knew this, I held my peace. He did what? Though I knew this, that he lied, I held my peace. And guess what happened? Why did he hold his peace? And it says right here, lest the eunuch should be put to shame. Huh? Lest they should be what? Put to shame for lying. And guess what happened? Yes, ye see, brother, see therefore, my children, what great things I endured, that I should not be put my brethren to shame. Do ye also therefore love one another, and with long suffering hide ye one another's faults. Why? For Elohim delighteth in the unity of brothers. And in the purpose of a heart, and it says, and in the purpose of a heart that takes pleasure in love. And when my brethren came into Mizraim, they learned that I had returned their money unto them, and upbraided them not, and comforted them. And after the death of Yaakov, my father and I loved them more abundantly. In all things whatsoever he commanded, I did very abundantly for them. And I suffered them not to be afflicted in the smallest matter. And all that was in my hand I gave unto them. Because you're supposed to open your hands wide for the poor. He said, I gave it all to them. Why would he do that? Because that's the Torah said. He said, I gave it all to them. Right? Oh, yeah. He said, verse 64, and their children were my children, and my children their servants, and their life was my life, and all their sufferings was my suffering, and all their sicknesses was my infirmity. Why do you think he said they were all of one heart and one mind? And all their suffering, and everything that they went through, they were of one heart and one mind. Why do you think they said it in Acts? It says, verse 65, my land was their land, and their counsel, my counsel. Why do you think he said, oh, they had lands, and whatever they had, they didn't even consider their own? It says, and I exalted not myself among them in arrogance. Huh? And I exalted not myself in them in arrogance. Huh? He was the head person. He said, but among my brothers, I never exalted myself above them in arrogance. And guess what happens? Because of my worldly glory, my things that I accomplished, and what I have. But I was among them as one of the least. Huh? And guess what? If ye also therefore walk in the commandment of Yahuwah, my children, he will exalt you there, and will barak you with good things forever and ever. And if anyone seeketh to do evil unto you, do well unto him, and pray for him, and ye shall be redeemed of Yahuwah for all evil. For behold, you see that out of my humility and long suffering, I took unto wife the daughter of the priest of Heliophas, and 100 talents of gold were given me with her, and Yahuwah made them to serve me. And he gave me also beauty as a flower, beyond the beautiful ones of Yasharal. Why? Because your countenance is going to fall if you do evil to other people. He said, beyond the beautiful ones of Yasharal, and he preserved me unto old age in strength and in beauty, because I was like in all things to Yaakov. Because the father loved the son. And Yaakov loved Yusuf more than all his brothers. You get what he says? And hear ye, my children, also the vision which I saw. Right? But he said that. Right, so go in the book of, so here we go, the book of Amos, chapter 4, book of Amos, chapter 4, Amos chapter 4, verse 1, Amos chapter 4, verse 1, Amos chapter 4, verse 1. Hear this word, you cows of Bashan, who are on the mountains of Samaria, who oppress the poor, who crush the needy, who say to your husbands, bring that we may drink. Then Yusuf said, I married Asenath, and they gave me 100 talents, and they all served me. But when he said, when you oppress the poor, and when you exalt it, he said, now you don't want to serve anymore. Because you exalt it in your mind. That's why Yusuf said, they serve me. But I never exalted myself among them. And get what it says. Who says to your husbands, bring that we may drink? Yahuwah Elohim has sworn by his Qhdsh that behold, the days are coming upon you when they shall take you away with hooks, even the last of you with fish hooks. And you shall go out through the breaches, each one straight ahead, and you shall be cast out into Harmon, declares Yahuwah. Right, so this is the book of Psalm chapter 49. Psalm chapter 49. Psalm chapter 49. Psalm chapter 49. Psalm chapter 49, verse 1. It says, hear this, all peoples, give ear, all inhabitants of the world, both low and high, that's he exalted, and those who are not. Low and high, rich and poor together. My mouth shall speak of wisdom, and the meditation of my heart shall be of understanding. I will incline my ear to a proverb, and I will solve a riddle to the music of the lyre. Why should I fear in times of trouble when the iniquity of those who cheat me surround me? Isn't that what happened to Yusuf? He had all his brothers around him, they were cheating him. They cheated him, but he didn't cheat them. Matter of fact, he gave them all their money, put it in the basket, gave them everything, and he would open his arms wide to the poor, and he didn't even consider what he had his own. And guess what he said? Those who trust in their wealth and boast in the abundance of his riches, Yusuf, they say, I never boasted in what I had. Even though all my kabod, I never exalted myself. And get what he says. Truly, no man can ransom another or give to Elohim the price of his life. For the ransom of their life is costly. He said, nobody can do that. Why do you think Yahushua said, now is my soul troubled? What shall I say, Father? Save me from this hour? For this hour I come into the world. Why? When the son of Adam be lifted up, I'm going to draw all people to myself, to me. Because the redemption of your soul is costly. You get what it says? It says, for the ransom of their life is costly and can never suffice, that he should live on forever and never see the pit. What happened to Yusuf? He was thrown into the pit by his brothers. He said, everybody going to see the pit. But guess what Yahushua said? My father not going to leave me in the pit. He's not going to leave me in Sheol. Because guess what your father did to those who are in the pit? When we get thrown into the pit in the Sheol, he ain't going to leave my soul in Sheol. Because Yahushua Mashiach purchased you. Because he bought you with a price. And he's going to take you out of the Sheol. He's not going to leave you there. Verse 10 says, for he sees that even the wise die, and the fool and the stupid alike must perish, and leave their wealth to others. Their graves are their homes forever. Their dwelling places are all generations. Though they call lands by their own names, man in his pomp will not remain. He is like a beast that perish. They call it after their own names. They have lands they call their own names, corporations. How you say their own titles? Verse 13 says, this is the path of those who have foolish confidence. He's like, y'all got a lot of confidence, foolish confidence. And yet after them, people approve their boast. He said, you know what happens? People approve what you boast about. But guess what it says? Like sheep, they are appointed for Sheol. Because you know what's going to happen to you? He said, you appointed for Satan on his Malachite. He said, when do we see you hungry and naked, and then give you drink, and hungry and naked and destitute, and we can give you food? When did we see you doing that? He said, you done it unto least of them, your brothers, you done it unto me. Why do you think Yusuf did it to his brothers? And to his wives and their children. He said, their children are my children. Their people, their families, they're my family. I didn't even consider things my own. And he said, you know what? I'll do that for you. Because it says, like sheep, they are appointed for Sheol. Death shall be to their shepherd. He said, death shall be to their shepherd. Death shall be to their shepherd. And the upright shall rule over them in the morning. Their forms shall be consumed in Sheol with no place to dwell. Why? He said, this place is reserved for those. He said, you reserved for Satan and his Malachite and Sheol. Because when I was hungry, you gave me no food. When I was thirsty, you gave me no drink. When I was naked, you ain't clothed me. Why do you think Yusuf did that to his brothers? And he said, I didn't never exalted myself above my brothers. I always gave to them, and I never put myself above them in arrogance. Verse 15 says, but Elohim will ransom my soul from the power of Sheol. He will receive me, Selah. He going to ransom me. Why? He going to purchase me from the pit. He said, I know you who are going to purchase me from the pit. Why? Because he said, he going to purchase me from the pit. Because if he can do it in this life, you think he can't do it in the next? He said, I was thrown into the pit. And nobody came to rescue me out. But he said, you know what? Here you go. I'll buy you. You were not redeemed with corruptible things of silver and gold, as some call gain, but with the precious blood of Yahushua Mashiach. He got me out of the pit. Verse 16, be not afraid when a man becomes rich. Why? When the kabod of his house increases. For when he dies, he will carry nothing away. That's why he said, I ain't even consider nothing my own. Anything Yahuwah provided for me, I gave to them. It says, his kabod will not go down after him. For though, while he lives, he counts himself Barak, and though you get praise when you do well for yourself, his soul will go to the generations of his fathers, who will never again see light. He said they ain't never going to see the light, right? Right, so this is the book of Matthew chapter 18, verse 22. Last couple of things. Matthew chapter 18, verse 22. 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 18, verse 23. Therefore the kingdom of Shamayim may be compared to a king who wished to settle accounts with his servants. And when he began to settle, one was brought to him who owed him 10,000 talents. And since he could not pay, his master ordered him to be sold, and his wife and his children and all that he had, and payment he be made. So the servant fell on his knees, imploring him, have patience with me, and I will pay you everything. He said, I'm gonna pay you back all everything you owe. But guess what the year release is for? It says, and out of pity for him, the master of that servant released him and forgave him all his debt. He gave him everything. He said, I forgave you all your debt. So the year release. But when that same servant went out, he found one of his fellow servants who owed him 100 denarii, and you're going to get paid 1 denarii, and seizing him and began to choke him, saying, pay what you owe. So his fellow servant fell down and pleaded with him, have patience with me, and I will pay you. Guess what he says? He refused and went and put him in prison until he should pay the debt. When his fellow servants saw what had taken place, they were greatly distressed, and they went and reported to their master all that had taken place. He's like, I was patient with you. Why can't you be patient with somebody else? I gave you release. Why can't you release somebody else? Then his master summoned him and said to him, you wicked servant, I forgave you all the debt. I gave you your release. according to the Torah, because you pleaded with me. Because I ain't no oppressor. And should not you have had mercy on your fellows, servants, and as I have mercy on you? And in anger, his master delivered him to the jailers. Why do you think he did? Why do you think he sent Simeon and bound him and threw him in the pit? Why do you think Yusuf did that? And get what he says: till you should pay all his debt. So also my heavenly Father will do to every one of you if you do not forgive your brother from your heart. Why do you think Yusuf said, I ain't hold nothing in my heart against my brothers when I was giving them all that? Because when you're supposed to give, you ain't supposed to have nothing in your heart. No unworthy thought. No unworthy thought is supposed to be in your heart. Right? So this is the... There's a lot more. Right? So we're going to the book of 1 John. It's the last thing. This is 1 John. So we're going to 1 John chapter 3. 1 John chapter 3. First John chapter 3, last verse. That's not it. Let's go to Galatians chapter 6, verse 4. 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 Galatians 6 and 4. And it says right here, but let each one of you test his own work, and then his reason to boast will be in himself alone and not in his neighbor. For each will have to bear his own load. Let the one who is taught the word share the good things with one who teaches. Do not be deceived. Elohim is not mocked. For whatsoever one sows, that will he also reap. For the one who sows to his own flesh will from his flesh reap corruption. But the one who sows to the Ruach will from the Ruach reap eternal life. And says, and let us not grow weary in doing good. For in due season you will reap, if you do not give up. So then, as we have opportunity, let us do good to everyone, to all men, and especially to those who are the household of Amunah. Why do you think when he said especially? He said especially means here's your money, here's your land back, here's your money for you, and at the year of release I give you your land back. Here's bread for you, and here's your money back. Because there's going to be no poor among you. He said there will be no poor among you. Right, so this is the book of, this is the last thing. This is 1 John chapter 4, verse 6. That's the 1 John chapter 4, verse 15. 1 John chapter 4, verse 16. 1 John chapter 4, verse 16, verse 15. And it says, whosoever confesses that Yahushua is son of Elohim, Elohim abides in him, and he in Elohim. So we have come to know and to believe that the love that Elohim Yahuwah has for us, Elohim, Yahuwah is love. And whoever abides in love abides in Yahuwah, and Yahuwah abides in him. By this is love perfected with us, so that we may have confidence for the day of judgment. Because as he is, so are we in this world. Why do you think Yahuwah was doing things just like he is? But he says, there is no fear in love, but perfect love casts out all fear. For fear has to do with punishment. For whoever fears has not been perfected in love. We love because he first loved us. Anyone says, I love Elohim, and hates his brother, he is a liar. Oh sister, for he who does not love his brother, whom he cannot see, whom he has seen, cannot, he says, for he who does not love his brother, whom he has seen, cannot love Elohim, whom he has not seen. And this commandment we have from him: whosoever loves Elohim must also love his brother. He said, you also must. He said, you also must. Right? So this is the last thing. This is the last thing. Right? So this is I think it's the same. This is Aleph Yukanan 3 and 17. Let's go to Aleph Yukanan 3 and 17. 1 John chapter 3 verse 17. 1 John chapter 3 verse 17. But if anyone has the world's good, glory, kabod, and sees his brother in need, sister, or family, yet closes his heart against him, have an unworldly thought, how does the Elohim's love abide in him? Just like we read in Deuteronomy. Little children, let us not love in word or talk, but in deed and in truth. By this we shall know that we are of the truth, and we assure our hearts before him. For whenever our hearts condemn us, Yahuwah is greater than our heart, and he knows everything. He said what? He knows everything. So we look at all that, there's a lot more. But at the same time, we look at his life, we look at Yahushua Mashiach, but then also we look at the other examples in the Torah. But then we also looking at not oppressing the poor. We look at living in this world, we're not of it. But at the same time, he said one must still show that compassion and love, not only to those who are in need, who are, he said, believe, but also who don't believe. But we look at this world, and we look at ourselves, and we look at our inward man. We look at our internal being. We look at ourselves from birth to present to see when these things were practiced and when these things came into being, and why these things have to be transformed. He said, be transformed in the renewing of your thoughts and your mind. That we may, when the year of release comes, or even as the Shabbat, when the sun goes down, even the sun going down, he said, you must be released, your brother or sister, from all the hurt and the pain and anything that anybody's ever done. So one can be released, and one that, he said, can prosper in their life. For we live in this world, and we look at this world, and we look at all the things that man can do to a human being, and the lack of love and compassion that man can show to a human being when we are in the wrong. But yet, through humility and meekness, if we acknowledge our sin, he is faithful and just to forgive us our sin. And if we acknowledge our sins to our brothers and our sisters, to all the people we've done wrong in our life, then he said they should have that same love and compassion to forgive you, even as you have forgiven, even as Yahuwah has forgiven you. For we look at ourselves, we look at all things that we must do in this life, continually, until the day we leave this side of earth and travel to another world and be in Sheol. But he said, but Yahuwah ain't gonna leave me down in the Sheol. For he said, for he's purchased me. He's gonna ransom me. The only way he's gonna ransom you, he says, to pay the price. For by the blood of Yahushua, he said, we will not redeem with corruptible things of silver and gold, but with the precious blood of Yahushua Mashiach. And that's how he's not gonna leave your soul in the Sheol after this life. For the meek shall inherit the earth. The meek shall inherit the earth.